everybody, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, I'm Eileen, and this is Eileen Ashley is Red Hot and Flashy. I'm doing something a little different here. And if you've ever watched Robert Welsh, he's an amazing makeup artist. He does what's called, I believe he calls it Makeup and Ghost Story Monday or something like that. And it's really, really good. It's funny because when I first started watching him, I saw those videos, but I never watched them. And then one day somehow I clicked on it and started watching it and I got hooked. And I binged watched them all. However, Robert doesn't get, they're not his most popular videos. Even though he gets like 25, 30, 50,000 views on them, he gets, I don't know, maybe 4 times more than that on his other videos. So unfortunately, he has been slowing down on making them. He also has dyslexia, so it takes him more time to create those videos and edit them. And therefore, because they get less views, it was counterproductive for him to do them so often. He used to do them once a week. Then he went to every other week. And I don't remember if he announced it, but last one he made was 3 weeks ago. So I'm hoping he doesn't mind me stealing his idea. And it's his idea 100%. Yeah, go check him out. He's really good. He's from England and he's got a beautiful accent and his voice is so calming. It's just, you know, everything. He's the whole package for this. So I'm hoping that I can do it justice and, you know, help you guys maybe watch some of mine while you're waiting for his. Now, I'm not going to get into what I've been using or what I'm using or do a tutorial because this is just me telling you about stories and or ghost stories or whatever kind of stories we're going to make up. Not make up. Let me back that up. Well, I guess I can read just ghost stories, but here's the thing. I have made a email so that you guys can send any of your ghost stories, paranormal stories, stories about crazy people if you want, any kind of story you want. And it's called GRWM, Get Ready With Me, GRWM stories at Gmail. And this way, send over your stories and I will read them on my series here that we're starting. I'm going to tell you what eyeshadow I'm using, the palette, but I'm not going to get into the different colors and a tutorial about it because like I said, this is just us talking about stories. But anyway, today's I'm using the Michaela palette and I'm going to do a neutral look with it. I'm going to begin with my stories. I have quite a few, but some of them of course are very old, so my memory might not be the best about it. It might be short, but I'm going to start with the first thing that I remember. The first thing that I remember happening that has to do with, I don't know if you want to call it spirits, paranormal, I don't know what it's called. I was like under 5. I remember one night, so my bedroom, which I shared with my grandmother, when you walked out the door, the bathroom was to the left, but the kitchen was straight ahead. And because we lived in what's called a 2-family house, we lived on the 2nd floor upstairs. The door to our apartment had a big glass. The whole top part of it was glass. And I remember getting up to go to the bathroom. And I was young, you know, like I said, 5 or under. And I remember seeing a dog in the window. And it was a big, fluffy, kind of my color hair dog. And I forget what they're called. My friend had one too, and I can't remember what they're called. I believe it was a Pomeranian. Anyway, so I went to go to the bathroom and it was the middle of the night or it was dark and everybody was sleeping. And as I walked out, I saw this dog taking up the entire window from the kitchen. Now, I don't remember. I'm sure we must have had some curtains or something so that people just couldn't walk in, you know, walk upstairs and look in our apartment. But I saw nothing but this dog and almost like, I don't want to say fire behind him, but like this color was behind him. I don't know if maybe his whole fur took up the entire window. But I remember being scared out of my mind. Scared out of my mind to the point where I went back to bed without going to the bathroom, because I was afraid to get that far and leave. That's all I remember. However, I also remember, I guess it was the next morning, I said to my mom about the dog that I saw and how scared I was. I think I was even crying because honestly, I think I might have wet the bed. I'm not positive on that one, but it's quite possible. Anyway, of course she didn't believe me. Like, how's a dog going to get up, to the top of the window? And I said, oh, that's right. I said to her, it's Aunt Antoinette's dog, which was my father's sister. And she said, Aunt Antoinette doesn't have a dog. And I said, no, this was her dog. And she said to me, what was the dog's name? And I said, Pumpkin. Pumpkin was here trying to get in. And I remember her face was in shock because apparently my aunt had a dog. I was too little to remember, who was a Pomeranian and named Pumpkin. So Pumpkin, for whatever reason, was coming for a visit. The next story that I have, or that I remember anyway, I don't remember my mom telling me any kind of like, oh, when you were a kid, you saw this, that, or the other thing, played with people that weren't there kind of stuff. But, before I get into that, what I will tell you is I remember my mom, actually, let me tell you the story first. So I don't remember if I was in middle school, which is 12 and 13, or if we were freshmen in high school, which would be 14. But I believe it was in middle school. My friend's parents were going to, here in New Jersey, Atlantic City, which is, like Vegas. It's the gambling and it's the shore, but it's also got the casinos, right? So they were going to Atlantic City overnight, and my friend asked if I could sleep over because she didn't like, sleeping in there alone because her sister was also going. Her sister was a lot older than us. I think at that time her sister was old enough to drink, so 21, or was it 18 back then? I don't know. But she was a lot older than us. But anyway, my mom said it was okay. It was right around the corner from where I lived. So if anything, we could have called my mother. So we were hanging out in her bedroom. She had lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. And everything was fine. We were doing whatever, teenage things. I know we were doing our makeup because she was really good at it and teaching me how to do stuff. She also cut hair. This was all in like middle school. She was really good. Anyway, it was late. I don't know what time, but it was dark out or whatever. And both of us at the same time heard someone come in the door. And we knew that her parents were not coming home. They were not. There's no way that would have been them. Possibly the sister. Like, we don't know. We didn't know if, something had happened and she decided to come home. But we knew it was not the parents, her parents. So anyway, we just looked at each other and kind of froze and listened. And then and I'm telling you, we both hearing the same thing. We both heard keys, like they were being put down on a counter. And then we're looking at each other again. Both of us afraid to go out into the living room and see what the noise was. Now, we knew if it was her sister, they shared a bedroom. So her sister would have come in to the bedroom. We were too afraid to yell anything because if somebody had been in the house, then they'd know we were there. Now, I forgot to tell you, her father was a police officer. He had his gun right on his dresser in his bedroom. That was the 80s. I guess they didn't lock those things up. Anyway, but we knew better not to touch it. So anyway, we could hear footsteps. And we're thinking, maybe it's the upstairs. But it felt like it was getting closer. And it sounded like it went into her parents' bedroom. And that's when we remembered the gun. So I'll never forget this. I started shaking. And I'm doing this at my girlfriend. Oh, yeah, yeah. We're afraid to talk to each other because we're so afraid. We're like, we locked, she got up and locked the bedroom door, but we're like, I mean, they could kick that in so easily. Do we hide in the closet? Do we jump out the window? Because she was on, technically, I guess it's not the first floor, but when you walked into her apartment, there was downstairs to the basement and then up like 5 stairs. So if we had to jump out the window, we wouldn't have gotten hurt. Anyway, then we heard footsteps again, like somebody was walking around the apartment. And then we also heard what sounded like either a door closing or drawers closing. And we were like, I was frozen in fear. She was scared, and she finally dialed 911 because we were scared. So the police stayed on the phone with us, and they got there within minutes. They were really fast. They stayed on the phone with us. Now, the thing is this. You can be buzzed into the apartment, but the buzzer is all the way at the front door, and there was no way we were going to buzz them in. So the dispatcher's like, they're outside, and we could see them. We opened the window so they could, we could talk to them. They could hear us. They could see us. Luckily, and she doesn't know why, she brought her keys into her bedroom, which she never did. There was a place for everybody's keys, which is why we thought somebody was in the apartment, because you heard the keys go in it. I forget if it was on the counter or like a bowl or something like that. Anyway, so the police, I guess, could see how scared we were. And they're like, somebody's got to let us in. And we're like, no, we're afraid. And he's like, do you have keys? And she's like, oh my God, no, they're in the living room. And then I forget if I turned, she turned, and there they were. And we were like, there they are. So the cops said, throw them out the window. We threw them, because there were bushes under there. So we had to like kind of throw. So we threw them out the window. The police came in. The dispatch stayed on the phone until the police actually got to our bedroom door. And that's when they said they checked the apartment first before they came to us. And that's when they said, open the door. They're at the bedroom door right now. We could hear them in the apartment talking, and we could hear the radios going. And because remember, we were kids, so 12, 13, 14. So they really, they came fast, and they knew, these are children. Even though, we weren't little kids, we were still kids. Anyway, I'll never forget. They said it was okay to open the door, that the police had checked the entire apartment. Nobody is there. So we opened the door, and I remember hugging the police officer, crying, and I literally was shaking. He said to me, oh my God, you're really shaking. I said, I was scared. So, everything turned out perfect. We were safe. I did not call my mother. I don't know why. I should have. She would have drove right there. But everything was okay. The next morning, her parents got home really early, like probably 7, 8 o'clock. They didn't, they stayed the night, but they didn't, stay out, I guess, what I'm saying. So they got home, and plus it's like a 3-hour drive from us. Her parents got home that morning, and I don't know who it was that told her father that we had called the police, because they knew. I have no idea how they knew, but they knew. And they said, her dad was like, you guys did the right thing. Oh, the police also told us that we did the right thing by calling them, because we apologized. Now we felt silly that there was nobody in the apartment, and we were so scared. And they said, no, you did the right thing. We want to, how did they put it? Something like, we would rather come here and you're safe and nobody's here than, God forbid, come here and there's somebody in here. Don't ever feel afraid to dial 911. You did nothing wrong. You did exactly what you should do. Which, of course, made us feel a lot better. Because, back then especially, too, you just didn't dial 911 unless it was a true emergency. So we didn't know if we were going to get in trouble. Like I said, we were kids. But anyway, so her parents somehow knew. I don't know if, I think we told them, oh, that's right. We had to tell them, they saw the gun right on the dresser. So we had to tell them who her father was. And he didn't work in that town, but I don't know if they called the police department that he worked for. I have no idea. But anyway, somehow he found out before they even got home, which may be why they got home so early. Who knows? And the father, her father was like, you guys did the absolute right thing. I'm glad you're safe. Don't ever be afraid to call for the police. You won't get in trouble, whatever. They were just grateful that we were okay, even though it was just a scare and nothing else. So her mom, this is the funny thing. So her dad didn't believe in any of this stuff. Her mom said her dad said, oh, it must have been the neighbor upstairs that you heard, they explaining it away. But her mom said that, I forget, it was her uncle, and I'm not sure if it was her mom's brother or her dad's brother, never liked when they would leave the kids alone, whether, even if it was just going to the store or something like that. He didn't like it. And remember, her sister was a lot older than us. So I'm assuming, because I don't remember how long he had been passed for, but she said he never ever liked if she had to leave the kids alone, or her older, let's say, babysat for the younger. He never liked it for whatever reason. And she swears it was him. She swears to God it was him to show, I don't like these kids being alone, and here's what could happen, even though we were safe. It kind of showed, I guess, what could have happened if, God forbid, somebody had gotten in. God forbid. But, we were safe. And my friend and I both believe that it probably was her uncle. Now, when I told my mom this story and what her mom had said about the uncle, she had told me she's a believer in that. She told me, I think it was 2 stories? No, one, maybe one. Anyway, she had a dream, and she said when she has these dreams, because she had a few, they were, even though she had been asleep, she would wake up with such a jolt. And it felt so real. She said it was different than any other dreams that she ever had, and that it was different than a nightmare. So she had told me this, one that I remember. I know she had it twice, but I can't remember. I remember the one specifically. She had a cousin who she dreamt died in a motorcycle accident, and she was very upset because they were close. And she said, she called my grandmother and said, cousin Nikki, I think his name was Nikki, I had such a dream. And she was very upset, like crying. I had a dream he died. She's like, oh my God, is he okay? And my grandmother said, no, he's fine. We would have gotten a phone call by then. And I think the dream, I'm going to just give the different times. I'm sure they're not correct. But I think she said, let's say she woke up at 3 a.m. and when she looked at the clock, it was like 3 a.m. So now my grandmother gets a phone call. I forget how much later. I remember the second person. She gets a phone call. I don't remember how much later my grandmother got this phone call, letting her know that her nephew, Nicky, had passed away, that he was in a motorcycle accident the night before. And although he didn't die instantly, he died around 3 o'clock this morning. And my grandmother was like astounded, like, no way. Like, because my grandmother is a very, very devout Christian, so she doesn't believe in any of that stuff. But how could she explain that? How could she explain that away? She told my mother, of course. She had to call my mother and tell her, the news. And my mother was devastated. She's like, I think cousin Nicky was coming to say goodbye and let us know that he's okay up in heaven. So my mother would get these dreams, right? The second person was my father. So my father died when I was 18. I'm not going to get into my story of my father, but let's just say he took off and he was not a father to us. But I think my mom still loved him, believe it or not. And he was sick. He got sick. I think he had lung cancer or something. I don't even remember. Anyway, so again, she had a dream that he came to her and said goodbye. And I think he said something about take care of the kids. And I'm so sorry that I wasn't there. So I forget, I'm going to say, let's say it was midnight. I don't know. And the next day, my grandmother, his mother, called and told her that my father had passed away. And she asked, what time was it? And she was like, around midnight. So again, my mother's like, he came to say goodbye and apologize. I'm like, yeah, because he wanted to try and get in heaven. My mother was so mad at me when I said that, but, I was only 18 when it happened, and I was still very, it was like a stranger died, so I kind of was like, teenage girls. I'm going to tell you one more story that kind of happened to my mom. So, before I have an older sister and two younger brothers. And before my two younger brothers were born, we lived in an apartment building or a 6-family house. So there was 2 apartments on each floor, and we lived up on the 3rd floor. And my grandmother and my uncle lived across the hall from us. I was an infant, and my sister was like almost 2, I believe. No. Yeah, about almost 2. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix this. My mom kept having a dream about a fire, and not so much the fire itself, but the aftermath of it. What I could specifically remember is, and she wrote it down, so I have the story about it. She had a fire that, she kept having this dream, and it was recurring for a while. I'm not sure how long, maybe like a few days. And she would go back to the home or the apartment. And what I specifically remember is her furniture. She said how warped it was, and that there was this specific pattern of the mirror, the way it had cracked. And she just, for whatever reason, that's what she was remembering. So she kept telling my grandmother about it, my father's mother, because my father's mother believed in that stuff. However, she just kept saying, oh, it's just a dream. It's really nothing. Things like that. Anyway, I don't know, however many days later, there's banging at the door. Fire, fire, get up, get up, get up. She could hear somebody screaming. And then when she woke up, she could hear glass breaking. I believe also she dreamt about the glass breaking. Anyway, so unfortunately, my grandmother was sleeping at my aunt's because she was babysitting. I mean, that's not unfortunate. But apparently my uncle, who was 24, fell asleep with a cigarette. And I guess on the couch, and then went to bed. And the fire started in the living room. So my father tried to save him, tried to get to him, but when he kicked the door open, the living room was engulfed in flames, so he couldn't get to him. By the time the firemen got there and actually got into my uncle's apartment, he had already passed away from smoke inhalation. But I guess lucky for us, my father held me and my sister out the window so that we could breathe. My mom said they wet towels and stuff and put them over their faces so not to breathe in all the smoke. And I think, the fire department came, but they didn't have the ladder long enough to rescue us on the 3rd floor. So while they were waiting for that ladder, people were screaming, "Don't drop the babies, don't drop the babies." The fire department found a wading pool, like those plastic kid pools, and went to the rooftop next door. Now where we live, those houses are like basically connected to each other. And they had my father with his left hand, and he wasn't left-handed, swing and throw me. I was like 6 months old, down, because we were the 3-story building. Next door to us was a 2-story building. So they threw me across, or he threw me across to the building next door, down 1 story, and thankfully the fire department caught me in this pool. By that time, the bigger ladder came, and they were able to rescue my sister and my parents, through the ladder. But unfortunately, like I said, my uncle lost his life. And when they were allowed back into the apartment to get whatever belongings they could, my mom said the dresser was exactly the way it was in her dream. My mother also had a dream when my grandmother passed away. She dreamt that my grandmother came to say goodbye to her. And at the time, my mom was looking for another place to live, a bigger place to live for us. And unfortunately couldn't find it, something she could afford. And in her dream, my grandmother said they were in a bathroom, like with a bunch of stalls. And she was telling my mother, she was telling my grandmother, "Come on, it's time to go." And my grandmother said, "No, I have to stay here. There's not enough room for me there." Oh, because my mom had finally found a place, even though it was smaller. She finally found one. And my grandmother said, "No, there's not enough room for me there. I can't come." And she said, "No, Mom, we're going to make it work." And she just said something to the effect of, I don't recall exactly, but something to the effect of, "You're going to be okay, and I have to go now." And then she left. "Oh, I have to go now, and I'm okay, and you're going to be okay." And then she left. So, like I said, I was always like, "Oh my God, if you dream I die, don't tell me." I guess I would be dead already though, huh? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go off camera, finish up the look, and I'll come back and show you the finished look. Okay, everybody, this is the finished look. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I will make it a series. Send me anything that you have, whether it's spiritual, like spirits or angels, ghosts. It could be scary. We like being scared. Well, I don't like people jumping out at me scared, but scary ghost stories are good too, or any kind of story. This isn't just meant for ghost stories. So if you'd like a chance for me to read it out on my channel, send it to GRWM, get ready with me, stories@gmail.com. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Come join the family. All right, until next time, everybody. Bye.